Welcome, everyone. I'm Michael Ankees, and this is the Core Energetics TV show. This is my third show in a series dedicated to telling you and the world about core energetics. My guest tonight is Karyne Wilner, and Karyne Wilner is the Assistant Director of the Core Energetic Institute of New York. She's the Associate Director of the Core Energetic Institute in Australia. She's the General Director of the Core Energetic Institute in Brazil. And Karyne is a psychologist in Pennsylvania, and she does psychotherapy work on the body. And she's also a teacher at Core Energetics in New York. Karyne has also taught at Core Energetics all over the world, including Italy and Switzerland and Mexico, Germany and Australia. In New York, where she teaches Core Energetics, one of the classes that she teaches is about body reading, and that's the subject of tonight's show. Body reading is a technique that when you look at someone's body, you learn something about their history and something about their character structure, and you look at the body and, well, maybe I should just take a little step back first and introduce Karyne, and maybe I can ask her that question. Hi, Karyne.
Hi, Mike.
How are you tonight?
I'm really good. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you for coming all the way up from Philadelphia to be with us tonight.
My pleasure.
Great.
Yeah.
So I think maybe I'd like to ask you, what can you tell us about body reading?
Well, first of all, I want to say it's one of my favorite things to teach. And it came out of a long history in psychology, and many people don't know that. But one of Freud's students was a man named Wilhelm Reich, and he was a psychiatrist who said you can analyze and understand the personality by looking at the body. In fact, he said the body is the frozen history of the person. My mentor, John Parakis, who created Core Energetics, was Wilhelm Reich's student. And John Parakis passed this technology of reading the body on to me. And I hope to teach it to many, many people so that they can pass it on to other people, because it is a wonderful way of understanding a person. So you can look at a body and understand the personality.
Is this something that's just special to Core Energetics when you read a body?
Well, let me put it this way. It came out of body therapies. So we use it in Core Energetics. Bioenergetic therapists, which is another form of body therapy, also use it. And orgonomists, who are Wilhelm Reich students, use it. However, body reading can be used by many other people. I was thinking about it this week as certain attorneys were on the air talking about selecting their juries, how if they knew how to read bodies, they might make better selections. So body reading can be of use to everyone, not just therapists.
Mm-hmm. And So the reason you do it is the reason that you do body reading is?
Let me talk about it first from a therapeutic angle. When a client comes to a therapist, a psychologist such as myself, we need to assess them. Now, lots of psychologists use paper and pencil tests. Some of you know we use the Rorschach test, which is an inkblot test to understand the personality. Well, another way of understanding the personality is by looking at the body, the posture, the facial expression, the energy flow in the body. So it's a way of assessment. From that assessment, I know, A, whether I can help the person, and B, how to help that person if I can help them. One of the wonderful things about body readings is that I can talk to a person and say, this is what I see, and that often motivates a person to continue with their work. They say, gee, I had a feeling that was the situation, but now that really confirms it, and I want to stay in therapy and work on this issue.
So to look at a body, you can't see a body through clothing.
Right. Well, you can kind of see a body through clothing, you think. And what's really interesting, when I first started this in my career, I was a little bit embarrassed to ask my clients to undress. And so I tried to read their bodies, with their clothes on. Like, I think I can see your body with your clothes on. And you have a nice looking body, Michael.
Thank you.
However, what I found out when I began to ask people, when I finally got past my shyness and asked people to come in and work out clothing so I could see more of their body, was that our bodies are really pretty much hidden with our clothing. You don't see the things that you need to see. We pick clothes that make us look good, let's face it. And as a therapist, I need to see everything. I need to see skin color, I need to see body fat. So having people come in either bathing suits or workout clothing helps me give a much truer analysis.
So when you look at someone's body, what do you look at in the body?
A lot of different things. One thing that I think we all look at is body posture. So I'm interested in just the general posture. For example, if somebody, well, let me just back up a minute and say, a lot of people think, well, this is my body, this is me, this is how I was born. Many people think their physical shape is genetics. And that's true to a certain degree. So, for example, shoulders. Your shoulders have a certain breadth and depth.
So you're talking about the shape of the body.
Right. However, posture is affected by lots of things, such as trauma, emotional wounds. So if you have a parent that is angry at their child, the child stiffens up. The shoulders raise in fear. That's not genetic. So a person's posture may end up like this or like this. That's not genetic. So I'm looking at posture because that tells me something about the life wound.
So the shoulders up would be a scared person, and the shoulders forward would be somebody who would be protecting something.
Yes. Actually, shoulders forward, you could be protecting the heart. And in addition, people who walk around like they have all the burdens of the world on their back, they also have their shoulders forward.
So how does one of your clients feel when they have you looking at their body? Is this something that they like or they don't like? Or
well, it's interesting. People like it in a certain way. They want it. If I say I'm going to do body readings, people cluster to wherever I am. I think it's because people want to find out about themselves. It's almost like astrology. Everyone wants to hear see their chart or know what's going to happen in the future. So that there's, at first, a great interest in it. And then, all of a sudden, when the person volunteers and says, I'm ready, there's tremendous anxiety because they have to expose themselves. There's no way, as I said before, you can do a good body reading with someone's clothing on. Therefore, you don't feel very safe when you take your clothes off and there's your you know, the roll around the middle sticking out, and whatever else the person believes to be their flaws. So there's a desire and an interest, and there's, oh my gosh, you know, someone's going to see my body and they're going to be disgusted. Somehow what always wins out is the desire for the information, so that people never fail to go through with it, even though they are quite anxious about it.
You must really like this work, because you have such a beautiful smile
Thank you.
when you talk about it.
Yeah, I really do. It really, you know, one of the things I like about it, it shows parts of the personality that can't really be hidden. And the other thing I like about it is there's an intimacy, a sharing with the person, telling them their life story. And even though they know their life story, that someone else sees it too is very meaningful to them.
You can tell someone's life story by looking at their body?
That's the idea of a body reading. A
Wow.
body reading is that it shows where that person's been. It doesn't always show where you are currently, and it might not even show where you're going to be in the future, although I do try to add some of that into my readings. But it talks about your past. When Reich said that the body is the frozen history of the person, what he really meant was that our early wounds are frozen in our body. So what a child experienced, even as early as in the womb, all the way up through age 6 or 7, is certainly identifiable in the body.
So when you're reading bodies and with the clients, are you ever wrong?
Yes.
Okay. You are?
I think I am, and what I tell people is, you know, take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, and if something doesn't fit, you know, don't take it on, because my concern is that because I said it, and I'm a licensed psychologist, and I have expertise, they're going to, you know, say this is the truth, and people are the best knowers of their own truth. Mm-hmm. So I may say something on the basis of clinical history. Let me just say one thing, Michael, that body readings, we don't have statistics about them, but what we do have is history. So Wilhelm Reich and many therapists all over the world have been practicing this for years. And we keep coming up with the same findings over and over again in our caseloads with our clients. So it's because a number of us keep coming up with the same findings, we can say something is pretty much the truth. And it's on that basis that I might tell something to someone. But there are always exceptions to any rule. So if I said something about your shoulders to you, it might not fit you, even though it might fit 99 other people. So I always tell people, look, if it doesn't fit, that's okay. You know, you are the judge.
So when you're doing the body readings and you see something, do you tell the client everything you see? Do you keep some things back?
It's what I try to do is not overwhelm a person. I don't want to keep secrets, but I think all of us can only hold so much information. So it's if I held anything back, I would just leave out things which I considered trite, and I would pick on the most important things, because those are the things I would want the person to think about, see if they fit them, and begin to work with if they do fit.
So I was going to go there. That this is an assessment of their history. I mean, they could just as easily tell you the history, but
well, that's interesting, and that's a good question. Can they? Because I think. This is I might regret saying this, but I think in a certain sense the body is a truer history. I think we all have myths about ourselves which we've developed because we like to tell ourselves stories about ourselves. And sometimes the body reading actually contradicts that. Let me give you an example. I'll have a client, a woman, for example, tell me, I hate my father, I've always hated my father, I've never had a relationship with my father, you know, my father disgusts me. And I look at this person's body, and by certain pieces of knowledge I have, it shows that early on, let's say between the ages of 0 and 3, the woman had a very positive and affectionate relationship with the Father. And I might say that to the person. And I'll say, well, your body tells me something different. So, and sometimes the person will say, thank you. You know, you're right. Now that I remember it, my Father did rock me to sleep.
So this brings up stuff for you to work with the client that may be stuff in their history that you may want to work with them.
And they may have completely forgotten about, or it has been repressed. On the other hand, sometimes I'll say what I see and the person will say absolutely not and disagree with me. And in that case, I think the client should win. So I say, okay, I'm wrong.
Okay.
So I want to just back up a minute to, you had asked me what I look at in the body. I want to, a couple other things. I mentioned body posture, but I'm looking at energy, because Core Energetics, obviously, we wouldn't have the name Core Energetics if we weren't in energy therapy. So I'm looking to see where the energy is blocked. And how I can tell that is it's where muscles bulge. It's sometimes where body fat clusters. It can be where hair grows or where it doesn't grow. It can be shown through skin color. So I can see where energy is blocked and not flowing. I can also see where we don't have enough energy. So sometimes a part of the body, and I can use my own wrist as an example, where I have a thin wrist, which is thinner than the rest of me. So I didn't have enough energy here. So that was what we would call undercharged. So I look to see where the person's undercharged didn't get enough energy, where they have too much. I mean, I can point to my own belly. I'm going to ask the camera not to look at my belly. But so I'm looking to see something about the energy. I also look at facial expression. I look at splits in the body. Does the head go with the middle of the body? Do both go with the pelvis, with the legs? Is there a left-right split? Do the right side of the body and left side of the body look alike? So there's tons of things to look at. The tricky part is
Putting it all together and coming up with
the right answer.
Right.
And so doing a body reading, it's a little bit like being a detective, and it's always interesting because there's no two people who are alike. And often body readings aren't alike, even with the same person. People change. In fact, some of the people, I know you have an audience tonight, or we have an audience tonight, probably could tell us that their bodies don't look the same now as they did in the past. So each reading will often bring up different information as well. And I use that in therapy. As I'm doing therapy with a person, every 6 months or so, I'll do a body reading just to see what changes, and if we're dealing with new issues, and if we've dealt with some of the earlier original issues.
If there are people out there that would like to learn more about body reading, how would they go about finding where to do it?
Well, they can certainly contact me or the Institute of Core Energetics East, and we'll be happy to let them know what classes and workshops are available. I think that would be the best way to do that.
Okay, great. I want you to know that we have some people in the audience tonight that would like to have their bodies read, but is there anything else you would like to say before that?
Well, obviously, you know I'm really interested in this area, so there's probably a lot I could say, but what I'd like to do is maybe
do one body first?
Do one body reading, one or two, and then have some questions from the audience, and that might give me an opportunity to say some of the things I haven't said.
Great. And you'll explain to us what you're looking at?
Well, now that's an interesting question right there. A traditional body reading doesn't explain what you're looking at. So I don't, what we do is we just try to tell the person what we're seeing. A body reading is a story. It says to the person, gee, I see that your mother neglected you or wasn't really there for you. A body reading doesn't really say, I'm looking at your collarbones. Now,
But you'll tell us a story about the body.
I'll tell the story, and
Okay.
because I would like to use this situation for some teaching, and I think it would be interesting to the audience, I'll probably give some information of what I'm looking
Okay.
at, just knowing that I don't always do that. If a client came to me, I wouldn't necessarily tell them what I was looking at.
Okay.
So in some cases I will, and in some cases I won't.
Great. Would you like to pick someone from the audience?
Yes, that would be great.
Okay.
Okay, so can I, well, Sally, would you be willing to do that?
Of course.
Okay, great.
What shall I do?
Well, we need you to go someplace where there's a little bit of privacy. Maybe you can walk off stage and just, are you dressed for body reading?
Yes.
Okay, so I need you to take off your outer clothes and come onto the stage here in your body reading clothing.
Okay.
Okay? And maybe we can talk a little bit more while she's doing that.
Well, this really sounds exciting.
Yeah, it is.
And how long have you been doing this?
I have been doing this, actually, that's an interesting story.
Okay.
So in I think it was 1982, I walked into a hotel room where John Parakis was doing a workshop. And I had been told, I was studying nonverbal communications at the time at the University of Pennsylvania, so I was very interested even then in the body. And someone told me, you have to go see this psychiatrist, John Parakis, work. And he had a stage in front of him, and he had people come up, just as Sally's going to do in a minute. And he asked them to undress, and he told them their life history. And I had never, ever seen anything like this before. And at the end of that demonstration, I walked up to this man who I had never met. I had just been told he is wonderful at what he does. And I said, I would like to train with you. So that's, so in 1982, I began to study with John Parakis and began to learn how to do body readings.
How many body readings have you read?
That's a good question. I would probably say hundreds, but mostly not on television. So I have to say that I'm hoping that I can bring this. I think this is a bit of both an art and a science. So I hope I can bring this into this medium. You know, and this will be the first time I've done it on.
Great.
So.
First time on television.
First
folks.
time on television.
And I see your body has arrived.
Okay. So Sally's going to come here, and I'm going to get up now, if that's all right, and I'll be right here. And Sally, can you just stand right over there, and we'll see if that's okay. Right here, actually. I'm going to assign you that little circle. Okay, excellent. That's very good.
I'm going to give you this, Sally. Does she need it yet?
Yeah, that's good if she would have the mic.
Right.
Okay. So the first thing, it's usually when you're having a body reading, and I don't know how this is for you, Sally, but it can be you can feel a little insecure or unsafe or nervous. Can you share with me and us how you're feeling?
I think you said it really well earlier when Michael called me and asked me if I'd like to do a body reading. I jumped, yes, yes, yes.
Uh-huh.
And then when I was sitting out here, thought to myself, did I say yes to this?
Right.
So, I'm a little anxious, but I want the information.
Okay.
So it's exactly as you said.
Okay, great.
And there are friends here, so I feel comfortable.
Okay. So what I'm going to ask is the audience, just take a look, since we do have an audience here, and just see how safe and comfortable you feel. You said you had friends, and do you feel their support? Okay, good. And if you send Sally and myself support, I'll appreciate it because, as I said, this is my first time on video with a body reading. Okay, so, all right, so let's just, yeah, that's good. Okay, so I'm going to just stand away from you a little bit and take you in. And, okay, so what I'm seeing Now, I may see some things. I know a little bit that I know you've had a baby recently. Is that correct?
8 months ago, I had a baby.
8 months ago.
Yes.
So there are some things about your body that may be have to do with having just had a baby and been pregnant. So if I misread it because of that, help me.
Okay.
All right. So this is going to be a first also because I'm not seeing Sally total body totally back the way it was, I assume. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay, and I'm going to read your body pretty much the way I see it now, so there will be some things I may be off the mark with. But what I will say is that early on, it looks as if, I would say the first year or so of life, you didn't really feel nurtured by your mother, that you didn't get a lot of support from her. And I'm seeing that, basically I'm seeing that through here. There's a kind of a narrowness in there. And again, like myself, thinner wrists than with the rest of your body, and also thinner ankles right there. And that's kind of, it shows a sign of a sense of deprivation which happens early on. Now, it doesn't mean that the mother doesn't love the child. It may mean that she's a first-time mother. It may mean that she's overwhelmed with something. It may mean that she's working. It may mean that she had a death in her own family. So it just means that she's not as available as we might like her to be and as you needed her to be. What that can lead to sometimes is a sense of hopelessness. I don't know if you've ever felt depressed at points in your life. But there's this sense of, I'm never going to get it. You know, I need it, I want it, and I'm never going to get it, which comes from about the first year or two of life. What I also see in your body, and this is where I'm a little bit confused with the pregnancy. I don't know if your breasts are the normal size, etc. Are you breastfeeding now?
I'm currently nursing, yes,
Okay.
full-time, so they're bigger than usual.
Okay. But
I'm busty anyway.
Okay, so what I'm seeing is there was a loving early connection with Dad, whoever Dad was. Now, when I say Dad, I don't know, if you had a father in the family or if it was a grandfather or an older brother, but I see that there was somebody early on that you, in the male category, that you felt close to. Am I correct with that?
In the first year?
Or
the first few years?
First few years, I would say.
I don't remember, but yes, my father.
Mm-hmm. And
I idealized him.
Uh-huh. Well, that's kind of what I see. And fathers also show up. In the woman, they show up through the pelvis, and you have a nice pelvis. They show up in the breast. Now, there is, and right now, again, I can't tell because of having just had a baby, but it looks like there's a yearning in your breast, almost like you had him and you lost him. Is there some truth to that, a feeling like you lost your father along the way, or he stopped being there for you somehow?
Actually, it's more the feeling that I never really had him.
Mm-hmm.
So if I had him, it was early, and I don't think I remember.
Right.
I was the firstborn, and my parents were very thrilled
Right.
to have me.
I think you had him more than you had Mom early on. I mean, your body says you had more of him than her.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my mother also, she was very loving, was very excited to have a baby, but she has shared with me that she was terrified.
Yeah.
She told me that the first time she bathed me, she was shaking so hard. And I'm now bathing a baby for the first time, too, and I
Right.
can hold him with some confidence that he's not
Right.
going to drown, so it's interesting.
Right. Okay, so some other things I see about you is that you could be very successful, that you, well, it's interesting.
see that? Do some more of that.
Is there any truth to it? Have you been successful?
In the world?
Yes.
Yes.
What do you do? What kind of work do you do?
I'm a psychotherapist in private practice, but I've lived all over the world. I lived 10 years in Asia. I worked in business and publishing, in media and radio.
Right. So I'm right on. So you've done a lot. And I was going to say, and I don't have to say it now because you've said it yourself, but I was going to say you would be good at administration and organization and things like that. And you also have a lot of pride. Now, how I see that is, again, through the harmony in your body. And again, I'm subtracting the fact that you're a little swollen here. And I see harmony, and that has to do with success. and posture. And this area here, again, has to do with success. Now I'm going to turn you around. Let me look at the back of you. Okay. So what I'm seeing here, this is a will center. And she has a very nice will. So what Sally wants, Sally gets. But she gets it through her own she gets it through her own effort. She's not a kind of person who's controlling and makes other people do it. She wants to succeed, she tries hard, she works hard, and she wins out. So this is the will center, that shows that. Down here is the healing center. And basically what this says, and you can see kind of what we would call a leak of energy in here where this dips into her body. And it's interesting because it's a little off. It shows she's been through some physical stuff recently. And I'm going by the color and just that the energy is a little bit leaky here. Again, she has a nicely shaped pelvis. She has good sexual energy, although I will say, this might be private, so she doesn't have to comment on it, that she's holding it right now. It's not flowing as freely as it might. And I think I understand that, having a child of my own. So, and because she's holding, Sally, what's happening is the energy isn't flowing as well in her legs. She has really nice legs and well-shaped, and again, they show the ability to be successful, again, a good connection with her dad and with her mom, too. But the energy isn't flowing down in them. Okay, so come back around a little bit.
In my own therapy, we're working a lot on my legs, grounding.
Right. So you too feel like, where do you? I mean, it looks like you stop your energy somewhere around here, and it doesn't flow down. And again, you know, I will say that goes back to the dad. So my sense is that at some point you had a close relationship to the dad, you lost him or felt he didn't give you what you needed. And then you said, okay, forget it. And so you somehow have cut off your own sexual energy in a certain way, which then affects how you relate to the ground. The other thing that you have is, one thing I look at when I do a body reading is the person's arches. And yeah, so what you're showing there is an interesting kind of thing. There's a collapse. And that usually means that you, even though I said you had a goodwill here, which you do, there's also some way you just kind of give up. And arches are really important, letting me know, can a person stand on their own 2 feet? And there's some way in which you don't, or you haven't. You haven't always exerted your will, and you've let other people take over. Yeah, so what you need to do is roll for a minute to the outside of your feet so that but keep your toes on the ground. Yeah. See, that would give you, even though that's uncomfortable, and bend your knees slightly. Slightly. That's too much. Okay, that would give you a much better stance, and that must feel uncomfortable, but it would give you, like, I'm my own person. What you're doing is locking your knees, which means you're not really here. Like, you would lock your knees like you normally stand, and you'd be easily pushed up. Sorry. You would be an easy person. Sorry. You would be easy to push over. Right. Okay? And so you're not really there. Yeah. Okay. So those are some things I see about you. You have been and can continue to be extremely successful. You have really good energy in your body, and you need to kind of heal the loss with your father and recognize something, either that, yes.
I think the loss happened around the time I entered puberty.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think he was uncomfortable
Right.
and abandoned me at that time.
Right, that makes sense. There's two times that we find in the psych literature that can happen, either between the ages of 4 and 7 or the ages of 11 and 13. And either way, it creates a body such as you have, with a lot of harmony, but a certain kind of a disconnect. And if you're not going to love me, I'll go out and be successful in the world, and I'll get my admiration and love that way. Okay, so how was the body reading?
It makes me sad what you just said, because it's very true. It's true. Also, I'm struck by, I do have a lot of success in the world, but I have periods of intense collapse also.
Right.
So it's interesting to me that you see that
Right.
in my arches.
But that goes more to your mother than your father.
That's right.
It's a place of feeling hopeless, like you're never going to get the love you want. And how that can be healed is by generating your own energy and learning how to mother yourself, not expecting it to come from someone else.
At 42, I'm hoping to be able to learn
Okay,
that.
well, thank you for having the courage
Thank you.
to come up
Thank
here
you,
and
everyone.
do this, because it's a way for me to teach this topic, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Karen. It was great.
Thank you, Sally. So that was great.
No, good, I'm glad.
Do you want to have some questions from the audience, or do you want to look at another body?
Well, I'd like to look at another body, but could we take one or two questions first
Sure.
before we do that?
Are there any questions? Eric?
Could you talk more about what you mean by energy? You've been talking a lot about energy. What do you exactly mean by that?
Well, it's a good question. There's such a thing as life energy. In other words, it's such a good question, I don't know if I can answer it. Energy is a life flow that moves through our body, and it should move through our body in the form of a figure 8, so that would you mind coming up here? You can come up clothed. No, I'm not asking you to come up unclothed. Okay, and can you introduce yourself, say your name?
Eric Lifgren.
Okay, thanks, Eric. Okay, so energy should be flowing through the body like a figure 8. It should come all the way up from the ground. That's what we were talking about with Sally, that hers isn't really coming all the way to the ground. It comes up, it crosses here at the solar plexus, and again it crosses at the soft palate and comes back down. And there's millions of streams of energy that should be flowing through your body all the time. I can't explain it more. I'm not a scientist. I'm a psychologist, and we don't deal exactly with it. But it's your life flow. It's related to your cells, and it expands and it contracts. In many people, because of early wounds, it gets stuck. So, for example, let's say a parent says, "Naughty, bad, bad, bad." The child freezes. Let me see what your body would look like if it froze. Okay, great, good. And the energy gets frozen in that pattern. And if that happens over and over again, that's pretty much how the person starts to look. So when I'm talking about energy, I'm talking about the fact that it freezes in certain patterns. In Core Energetics, we talk about 5 patterns. We talk about an upper displacement, so raise your shoulders up. That's upper displacement. We talk about an overcharge, so it's someone who's kind of weighty around the pelvis. See if you can be, yeah, there you go. We talk about an undercharge where the person just doesn't have any energy. They're kind of sagging. Good. We talk about rigid. Can you stand very straight? Like, yeah, very good. And then we talk about fragmented. The person's going off in all different directions. Can you fragment your body? Excellent. Okay, so those are 5 patterns. Now, nobody fits into any of those patterns, and basically what I was talking to Sally about was she has several of those patterns in her body, and we all do. So, but I use them as a model, and then I work from there.
Got it. So when I'm like this, that's a block? When you're talking about blocks?
In your case, well, again, each person's different. It's not, yes, if a person's body has a muscular development that is in that posture, that would be a block. But you can only have a block if you have energy. So if a person's undercharged, this kind of person isn't blocked because there's nothing to block. They don't have enough energy. So you have to have too much before you can have a block.
Thank you.
Okay, my pleasure. Okay, how about we take one more question and then do a body reading?
Karyne, you mentioned the term leak,
Right.
and I'm curious as to what is the difference between an undercharge and a leak.
Okay, an undercharge means the person doesn't have enough energy. So they just didn't get it. So we were looking before at Sally's upper chest, and it was undercharged because the mother didn't give it to her. Usually how you give it to a baby is when you hold a baby, if you're a mother, you're holding it and the energy from your own heart is flowing right into the baby's heart.
Keep going.
And so the baby would get that energy. An undercharge is when the baby doesn't get the energy. Now a leak is, let's say you have the energy. So you have energy, but it doesn't, there's actually a part of the body that lets it leak out into what we call the aura, the energy field around the body. So it doesn't go all the way to the ground, as I showed in that figure 8 that I just did with Eric. It actually leaks out before it gets to the ground. So there's a place in the body that the energy just doesn't flow through and it lets go. I don't have the good words to describe it. Does that make any sense? Okay, good. Okay, let's do one more body reading.
Hi, my name is Tiffany.
Okay, Tiffany, come on up.
Come on down.
Okay, so thank you for being here. Yeah, so let me ask you how you're feeling about having a body reading.
I feel a little nervous, but I'm also really excited
Ah.
to see what you have to say.
Okay, great. Okay, what I'd like you to do is just take a look at the audience because they're here and they're going to be watching this whole thing and see how you feel with them and if you feel safe with them.
I feel safe with them.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, and again, I'm going to ask you to send us your energy and good feelings so that we will continue to feel safe and supported. Okay, and is there any questions you'd like to ask me before I begin, Tiffany?
No.
No, okay. Is there anything in particular you want to know about or just everything and anything?
Everything and anything.
Okay. So one thing I'm going to ask you to do, and if you don't want to do this, I can understand because you are on television, is could you roll up your shirt a little bit? Here, I'll hold this, and if you could roll that up, and just roll it under the, that's right. Good. And can you also roll up the pants of your legs a little bit? Yeah, like that. Okay, but yeah, if you just a couple rolls. Okay, so I'm gonna, all right, and I'm gonna give you back so you can comment on anything I'm saying, and I'm gonna stand back and try not to fall off the stage and look at you. Okay. Can you face me just a little bit more? Okay, good. Okay, so again, I see a little bit of similarity, so it might sound a little bit like some of the things I said to Sally, but there are some differences also. Okay, so you can, why don't we turn back here a little bit? Okay, let's turn it over here. And so I'm going to turn you so partly for the camera and partly for me. Okay, so again, early on, I see a deprivation from mom. The reason moms get it is because they're usually the chief nurturers early on. You know, sometimes the dad's the mom, you know, but mostly it's the female. And I'm noticing that again, the collarbones are sticking out. So there was this kind of sense of just not feeling a lot of real early support with mom. And I don't know if that's totally true, but some of that. My feeling is you didn't always know where you stood with mom either. Like, you know, sometimes she was there for you and sometimes she wasn't. So it was kind of an up-down mixed relationship. Is that, I don't know if that rings a bell or not. But
I know. I think I have to think about it.
Okay.
It's hard to remember.
Okay, so I'll let you think about it. I see a lot of dad in your body. It was almost like, again, I'll say this early on, that you were daddy's girl or daddy's little princess or daddy's something. Is that possible?
When I was younger, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That changed, huh?
I think so.
Okay.
But it's getting back. We've healed our relationship a lot in recent history.
Okay, so that's good. So anyhow, so what I see is, again, early on, the first 3 years of life in particular, a very, you know, like daddy, really, you were his little sweetie. And that continued probably 4 to 7, and then some kind of pull away at some point. What I'm looking at also is your shoulders, and they're kind of very stiff.
Yeah.
Which, two things come up for me. One, a certain identification, again, with dad, almost like, you know, I don't know if there's some way in life, you seem fairly young, but it looks to me like you want to be successful or could be very successful. Are you?
I haven't made it there yet.
You haven't?
But I would like to be.
Okay. And what is it you want to be successful as? Do you have a goal in mind yet, or?
I'm studying to be a science teacher, and I'm starting grad school this month, actually.
Oh, great. Well,
Yeah.
congratulations.
Thanks.
Now, is there any connection with your father in that? Was he interested in science ever, or?
Not really, but being successful, there's a huge connection with my father. He's always wanted me to be successful and pushed me to get what I want and
Okay.
ask for it.
Okay, so I see that kind of, often you can see the dad in the body posture, particularly in men, but my sense about you is you've identified more with your father than with your mother. I don't know if that's true, but that's what your body says. So I see very success-oriented, daddy's little girl, therefore possibly having some difficulty in staying in relationships.
Yeah.
What that could mean is, like, you know, no one can ever be as good as dad. So I don't know if you find yourself kind of involved with people and then getting disappointed in them, and
Yeah.
okay, well,
Yeah.
so that kind of goes with the territory. And again, what I'm seeing, what's giving me this information is a lot of harmony in your body. Are you a good athlete or dancer or anything like this?
I love exercising and walking and being outside.
Right. And
I
so
love dancing too, actually.
Right. So all of that tells me again that there's a strong male identification, but with father, and it's easy to stay connected to dad, to not being able to get on with your own life with somebody else. So that's something you're really going to have to work with. You're also going to have to work with receiving your mother, because in some ways you're very beautiful, but I think you don't let enough femininity into your life.
That's true.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So, you know, that's the other thing I would, you know, tell you to work with is, you know, opening up to the feminine and even opening up to your own mother and whatever gifts she may have for you. Okay, I'm going to ask you to turn around and take a look at your back. Okay, and again, we have, let me bring you over here. We have a very nice will center, so she can, if she wants that graduate degree in science, she's going to get it. No holds barred. And good sexual energy. Now, what you do have, I'm going to step back here a little bit and hope I don't fall. Do you have a slight twisting in your back, or am I
I'm
imagining?
crooked and I get back pain, I think.
Okay, so let me turn you around, but I'll talk a little bit about that, because that goes with something I was thinking about when you first came up. Sometimes when people have scoliosis or minor scoliosis, that has to do with power and energy. That the child comes into the world with a lot of energy, but it's almost too much for the family to handle. So the child almost has to squish herself to fit in. And that sometimes actually comes out in the body. And it comes out sometimes like that. It can also be a sign so that of a way in which you detach when things when you're under a lot of stress, you might just go away and leave. Does that ever happen for you?
I sort of freak out when I get under stress. Is that the
Okay.
same thing?
That can be the same thing. Sometimes some people just leave and some people freak out.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a way, at that point, your energy fragments.
Yeah, I lose it.
Right. So, and that can go back to early on, again, some issues with you and your mother. It can even go back as far as the womb, where that you weren't feeling totally welcome when you first arrived. I mean, but from the looks of you, you got welcomed pretty soon afterwards. But, so I see some pieces of that. It's like, am I free to be who I really want to be on this in this planet, in this lifetime?
Yeah, that's really true, because for the past 5 years or so, I've been trying to figure out, okay, what do I want to do? What do I want to do? And I've been bouncing back and forth.
Right.
So that makes a lot of sense.
Right. So it's you have, again, you really have to find out who you are, and you have to do that, you have to welcome yourself to the planet and say, I do belong here, I'm committed to my life here, and now I need to find my life path.
Right.
Okay. So that's the body reading.
Okay.
How was that for you?
Thank you. I would like to watch it on television myself and think about and actually digest what you said.
Okay, great. Well, I hope you have the opportunity to do that, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Okay, so here you are, Michael.
That was great. Very interesting what you can see on a body, and it just keeps going on and on and on.
Yes, it's really, the bodies offer an amazing amount of information for people to learn about themselves and on deeper and deeper levels. I mean, we can never stop growing, and all we have to do is look at ourselves, and there's information to help guide us on the next step.
We probably have about 8 minutes left in the show or so. Is there anything that you, I don't know if there's enough time to do another body if you wanted to try.
Well, we could, but let me just say a couple other things about body readings, and then maybe we can just do we can do some quickies or something.
Okay.
But I want to mention that the body is plastic, and John Prokos always used to say that, and I didn't know what he was talking about. And then what I realized is that we can mold it and remold it. So no matter how your body is now, it can be changed. And it can be changed obviously for the worse, but also for the better.
So you work with posture with people?
I work with everything with people. I mean, no matter what a person does, if they have the right intent, whether it's working with exercises that will improve their posture or just how they breathe or just meditation, if a person sets their intent to change their body so that it's a healthier, happier, more alive body, that can happen. So I think it's really important because I think that too many people don't, feel hopeless about their bodies. I'm not saying that we should all get involved in the more recent diet and exercise crazes. I don't think that we need bodies to please other people. But I think we need to love our own bodies. And whatever that means, that's within the possibility, because the body, we formed it and we can reform it. That's important to me to let you know that.
Great. Is there someone else that you want to work with, or just give them a quickie?
Well, how many minutes do I have?
About 5 minutes left
I
in
have
the show.
5 minutes. Okay, so let me ask this without asking people to undress. If you would like to, is there anybody who would like to come up here and just kind of with their clothes on from the audience and ask a question about something? You had your hand up. What?
I'm glad you said that again about change. Because I'm not quite comfortable in my body right now, and it's been giving me a lot of pain. And
Maybe you can work with her posture and look at it.
Okay, why don't you come up and let's take a look and we'll see what we see. How does that sound?
that sounds good. I think I'm uncomfortable with a total strip down, but I have a tank I could take.
All right, why don't you show what you can
But I
show?
don't want to take off anything.
Okay.
I'm not ready for that.
No,
I could
okay, is
take
there
this
anything
off.
you can take off? Okay, fabulous, great. Okay, I'm going to get up and join you here. Okay, so do you have any, now where have you been having the pain? Can I ask you that?
Right here.
Okay, and has it been a long-standing pain or just recent?
About a year and a half.
Okay.
Chronic.
Chronic, okay.
Used to be in my stomach, though.
Wow, okay, so
Used
it
to be
moved
for about
up.
a year in my stomach, intense stomach pains.
So we don't know if it's up and on its way out or
I
if
know, I know. That's my question is,
right. Okay.
how do
so,
you get it out, and is there anything leaking?
Okay. Okay, so your body is a little different, and it also has some similarity. Again, it shows, I don't know, if you hold it, you can comment to me.
Okay.
Again, it shows some early difficulties with the mom. Would you agree with that? That probably not really feeling wanted at first, or even welcomed on the planet at first, or certainly not giving you enough when you got here. But because again your top is smaller than your pelvis, it suggests that you didn't have your dad early on either, so that you were kind of not feeling connected to either parent. That there wasn't a lot of support at first. Does that fit?
Yes.
Okay. Then you did kind of get a pelvis here. So, and can I just have you turn around? Okay. So did a grandfather or a father come into your life later, or did mother get more demanding and pushing around? Because either one of those will give you a pelvis.
Well, my mother says that I was very much loved by my father up until whatever, about 10. And I see pictures that look like we were having a good time.
Okay.
But I don't remember too many fond times.
And you don't remember anything
And after
around
that, it was pretty bad after 10. So.
After 10, you were
Yeah.
neglected. And did mom
Yeah,
get
he
really...
he was manic depressive. He had a lot of problems. So.
Okay, and did mom get smother you and squish you and try to control you at that point?
No, not controlling, just not there.
Okay,
Just not
so
there
she
at
was
all.
never really available.
Right.
Okay.
4 children. She just-
Okay, so let's look at the back here and see what's going on. And I'm going to turn you around and so we can have a camera here. All right, so we see a lot here, which may be some of the issues that we just saw in the young lady before, which again is there's a twist in your back. Are you aware of that?
Well, I'm not. I think so. I think I was at some point, and I never did anything about it.
Right. So
We'll have to
we
cut
only
this.
have another minute, but you have a nice will center, by the way, also another
Oh, good.
successful lady. And yeah, and really nice. But again, this twist and somehow a lot of pride. Is there stress at work right now?
I'm raising 2 children, and
Okay, come back around so you don't have to
We
give
we
your
really
back.
have to cut the show right
Okay.
now.
Okay.
thank you very much.
Thank
That
you
helped,
for
that
coming
helped.
up. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Valerie.
Grab my sweater.
So I want to thank you, Karyne, again for coming up from Philadelphia to tell us about that body reading tonight. And I would like to ask you back again sometime in the future when you have some time, because it looked like this is could be very helpful to a lot of people, if you'd like to do that.
Thank you, I would.
Great. I want to thank the audience and the crew that helped us tonight. We have a couple seconds left. Does anybody want to tell me what you thought about our show tonight? Maybe one word?
Really terrific.
Wonderful.
Interesting.
Great. You want to see more shows?
Yes.
You want Karyne to come back?
Yes.
Okay, great. This show will be airing on Comcast Cable Channel 23 in the near future. We have 2 other shows that we've recorded. We would like to say goodbye to everyone now. And everybody out in TV land, good night. Thank you for watching.
See me beautiful, Look for the best in me. It's what I really am, and all I want to be. It may take some time, it may be hard to find, but see me beautiful. See me beautiful each and every day. Could you take a chance? Could you find a way to see me shining through?